So, don't boys cry? I think the answer to it is it depends on how you were raised, but generally, boys cry less, men cry much less than women. And I think that's not just the way they were raised, but it has some biological sense into it. For example, I've transitioned, and since I'm taking testosterone, I cry much less. Not just because I'm happier, but because, something stops me from crying, and it's not just that maybe people will perceive me as a man and think that it's weird that I'm crying, but it's more that, you feel like you are going to cry, but you don't actually cry. And things that used to make you cry no longer make you cry. And, being more emotionally detached, like I used to think all the time about my emotions, and I used to really feel like I need someone to talk to about my emotions, and now I don't. Like, relationships are a bit more superficial now. It's less emotional. So when I was a kid, my dad used to tell me and my cousin that we should stop crying like two little girls and stop working. And I don't know whether that thing really impacted me that much, but it's not just that boys are told not to cry. I mean, yes, there's this sentence, boys don't cry, and in Korea and in Japan, a man can only cry 3 times: when he's born, when his father dies, and when his nation is being taken over by an enemy. So there's definitely some kind of, it's not just nurture, but it's not just nature and nurture, it's not just nature, but it's tradition. And according to tradition, men cry less. And I think that's, as I said, it's not just that. It's all of the three mixed together that make men cry less. So it's both biological, and you can ask many trans men who are biological females who take testosterone, and they will tell you, many of them, that once you start taking testosterone, you cry less. And it's not like you don't cry at all, right? Men can cry, and it's really conditioned. Boys are being really conditioned to not cry and to not show any emotion, but it's rooted in some biology, right? Because I was raised as a girl, but my dad, he used to tell me, stop crying like a little girl. He used to tell me all the time, stop crying like a little girl, man up, stuff like that. And even though I kind of meant up eventually, but I did cry like a lot. To cry a lot. It did really help me when he told me not to cry, or when he smacked me and said stop crying like a little girl. I kept crying, but boys, biological boys, males, when they get to a certain age, they really do stop crying, and I don't think that's only conditioned by the fathers. Again, as I said, when you take testosterone, you stop crying as much. So I think that's when puberty hits, something, and testosterone makes everything drier. I know you would think it would make you wet because you sweat and your face is oily, but it does make everything drier. like in wet places like your eyes and your nose and your ears and everything that you can think of that would usually be moist becomes drier. So maybe your teeth as well. I don't know, maybe that's why. But I think that definitely men cry less, and it's both biological and it's both biological and it's both psychological, and it's both like the way you are being brought. And you know, it's not both, because both is just two things that's all combined together to make it how it is. And I don't think that if we start not telling boys not to cry, like if we stop telling boys to stop crying, I don't think that would make that much of a change like you would think. I think maybe men would be more open about their emotions, but their emotions would not get deeper than they are now, which is actually what makes you cry, because your emotions are really deep. As a female, you are really emotionally connected with the other females and with your significant people in your life. What I think, that's at least my experience, that as a male you are less emotionally connected. It's more like everything is a bit more superficial, and you talk about your interests, and you know, unless it's like really, really close relationship, you don't really talk about feelings. And that's more comfortable for guys. I think that's not just the way you are being taught, but that's actually how your brain is wired, to be less emotional. And that's it. I know I've talked for like 7 minutes about nothing. I've probably said something that could be, you know, you can shrink it all to just 1.5 minutes, but I like to repeat myself because I don't remember what I said just a minute ago, and all my thinking is not really straightforward. But you know, I don't give a shit. It's your problem for listening to that. Have a nice evening.